What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream. Happy Friday, people. Premier League action coming back to the Emirates this weekend as Arsenal host Sheffield United on Saturday. Make sure you join me for the watch along live from 2 p.m, 3 p.m. kickoff. Not only should we be 3-point collecting, we should be goal collecting this weekend as well against Sheffield United, who in my opinion are one of the worst teams in the Premier League. Make sure you hit the like button before you leave today. That's the entry fee, people. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Of course, we're here daily. Listen, it's Friday. Usually I'd be like, it's Friday there. In fact, listen, it is Friday, then Saturday, Sunday anyway. So make sure you have a good weekend, of course. But I'm going to have to start today's show with the headline news. And this is coming out of the press conference. So I am jumping the gun a little bit here with press conference reaction, but we've got to talk about the headline news that has come out of today's press conference, and it is not good news for Arsenal and injuries. We just cannot catch a break right now when it comes to injuries. And is this an Arsenal thing or is this every club? Let me know in the comments, but I feel like for probably 15 years I've been sitting here talking about injuries at Arsenal. Since Arsene Wenger and then Emery and then Arteta. Or if there's a player and they come to Arsenal, they're going to be injury prone. It's so frustrating and so annoying. Now, let's go to the headline news of the press conference. And that is Gabriel Jesus and Thomas Partey are ruled out for a few weeks. Now, a few weeks at Arsenal can mean anything. We've seen that with Saliba. Oh, he's only out for a few weeks. He was out for the next 3 months. So a few weeks can mean anything. We just don't know what the situation is. Gabriel Jesus, who was saying after the game, I don't think this is anything major, or maybe it was fatigue. Well, he's tweaked his hamstring, and Mikel Arteta says he's out for a few weeks. And Thomas Partey will be the same. And all of a sudden, I'm just looking at a few things with Gabriel Jesus. He was at Manchester City for 6 seasons. 5.5 seasons, sorry. We won't include the first season because he was only there for half a season. But I look at the other seasons. 29 out of 38, then 29, then 34 out of 38, then 29, then 28. So on average, he misses 9 to 10 games a season. Gabriel Jesus, 9 to 10 games a season. He then comes to Arsenal, 38 game season. He played 26, so he missed 12 games last season. He started the season injured with the knee injury again, and now he's out again with a hamstring injury. I'm concerned. I'm concerned, people. And I don't think many people are speaking about Gabriel Jesus in this light. But all of a sudden, I'm looking at Gabriel Jesus and I'm saying, you're injury prone. You're injury prone. You are not making 30 games out of a 38-game league season. Never mind if we need you for 10, 12 Champions League games, 6 or 7 FA Cup games, 5 or 6 Carabao Cup games. The brother is made out of tissue paper, like somebody just said in the comments. And then you got Thomas Partey, who's about as useful as a chocolate teapot. He just melts. It is crazy. It is absolutely... And like you said, Nico, it's time for uncomfortable conversations. Let's be real. Santi Cazorla was an absolute genius of a footballer. Abu Diaby, some people said this guy could potentially be the new Vieira. Rosicky, we called him Mozart. What a player. Jack Wilshere, the best English midfielder since Paul Gascoigne, they said. It means nothing if you are not available. You go to work on Monday, you have a great day at work, then you don't turn up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. They'll probably still sack you despite how good you were on Monday. That's the equivalent of what these guys are doing. I love Gabriel Jesus. I think he's a fantastic player. If you're missing 10 to 12 league games a season, you can't be relied upon. You can't be the main man. We can't build around you. We keep saying it. We need foundations. I need players that can get me 33, 35, 39... 38 games, should I say, out of a Premier League season. Not somebody who gets me 28, 26. That can't win you a league title. Go and look how many games Haaland played last season. I think he missed 2 games all season. And then Thomas Partey. I mean, we spoke about Thomas Partey the other day. I still think he's a quality player, but there's no way Arsenal can build their midfield around him. There's just no chance. If you think Gabriel Jesus is injury prone with them stats, Thomas Partey's even worse. He's missing 12 to 14 games a season. It's absolutely outrageous. This is a guy that missed 3 games in the last 2.5 seasons at Atletico Madrid, yet the guy is consistently injured. Comes back from international duty, trains a few times with Arsenal, injured. And again, Mikel Arteta saying Thomas Partey will be out for a few weeks. So listen, it is what it is. When I'm looking at the fixtures, of Arsenal, in my head now, I'm thinking, right, both players off until the international break. If they come back sooner, it's a bonus, but write them off. Sheffield United this Saturday. Next Wednesday, we play West Ham away in the Carabao Cup. That'll be a tough game. Next Saturday, St James's Park, Newcastle, 5:30 kickoff. Very tough game. Not a game I would have liked to have been going into with these two not available. After that, Sevilla at home in the Champions League, another big game. Then Burnley at home in the league. So, Burnley, Sheffield United, Newcastle, the next 3 games. I think Burnley and Sheffield United will be a walk in the park. Newcastle away will not be. That is for sure. And obviously a big Champions League game and a big Carabao Cup game. So, Jorginho, people. Oh, he's a good squad player. No, he ain't a squad player. Jorginho is not a squad player at Arsenal. Whether we think he is or he's not, he is a starting lineup player for us right now, and that concerns me big time. Now, for me, when you're playing Sheffield United at the weekend, who are an inferior team, I don't think you need to play Jorginho and Declan Rice. I think you can afford to play Declan Rice as a lone 6 with 2 attacking midfielders, Odegaard if he plays, and maybe Smith Rowe or Trossard in those attacking roles. So Jorginho, for me, doesn't need to play on Saturday, but we'll go through the team lineup later on. So, listen, disappointing news. Listen, it's not time to panic. Thomas Partey is hardly ever available. We should be used to it. But Gabriel Jesus is such a big loss. Every time I keep thinking that he's going to be, he's hit the ground now. He's really going to start performing for us. He scored a couple goals. He had a brilliant performance in the week. I'm thinking, here we go, Gabriel Jesus time, injury, and he's back injured again. I think the problem that people have to understand with Gabriel Jesus, he's had 2 major knee injuries. Usually, if you have a knee injury, it can lead to other injuries in your legs, It's a major joint in your leg, and I've seen a lot of footballers who've had knee injuries and they tweak hamstrings, they tweak their calf, it leads to a lot of things. So we need a striker. And honestly, at this point, whether it's Osimhen, whether it's Tony, even Ollie Watkins, who I'm not a big fan of, you've got to get a striker through the door. Because if Thomas Partey is out and Jorginho's now your starting centre mid with Rice, and then Jesus is out and you're playing Eddie Nketiah, you've got a problem on your hands. You're not going to win a Premier League with those two. We've got to go into the market. That is for sure. Anthony said exactly. Cedric, Kivior, Elneny, Nelson are true squad players. Jorginho is bona fide first team now. Same can be almost said for Eddie. Peak times ahead for the fellow Gooners. Peak times ahead. We got to go into the market. We have to go into the market. Nostra said, Curtis, can you do a shout out to Arsenal? Future incoming target, RB Leipzig's Louis Openda. I think he was he at Lens before. I've heard about him, to be fair. J20 was signed. The comment's flown off the screen. Apologies. I'm going to have to slow down. J20, Elneny, and Eddie in 2023. Eddie or Havertz up front. We'll talk about that. Hold fire on that one. And Victor Boniface, he's balling. Ollie Watkins is a runner. Look at his goals. He's always running in space. He's good. 120 million would get us Tony and Douglas Luiz in January. Let me read these few super chats. Lazar said, cheer up and cop the new merch they dropped today. Don't worry, I'll show you that shortly. Big up to you, bro. Zamir said, at this point, we need to sell part of this guy. Will never play 10 straight games. It's not looking good, bruv. It ain't looking good. Big up to you. And O'Malley said at this point, Eddie is our starting striker. Jesus is a squad player. I'm telling you. Jesus and Thomas Partey are actually squad players at this point because they don't turn up. Eddie and Jorginho, they're always available, aren't they? You know, we don't want anybody to get injured, but we'd rather the key players were fit and available. But, you know, it is what it is, people. It is what it is. Anyway, no need to panic. We might not have players. We may not have a star striker available. We may not have our main centre midfielder or one of our main centre midfielders available. No, we don't. We don't have that. But I tell you what we do have. Brand new merch dropping today, people. Bang! They will never let you down in this department. I tell you what, you want squad depth in this department. We've got tons of it. It's all over the place. Maharishi collab with Adidas and Arsenal. More of a fashion. They're calling it limited edition. I think it's similar to the 420 stuff. Or is it 424? What was it? Yeah, that came out. So they've brought out this. Couple nice hoodies and blah, blah. It's all right. It is all right. But yeah, it's going to be a little bit more overpriced than the regular Arsenal merch that you buy because it's considered more of a fashion section and it's limited edition. So it won't last long. Laser Gaming said Ty's going bankrupt. I'm sure he's outside there now with a couple of bags lining them up. But yeah, when it comes to merch and PR, we are Champions League winners. We are elite. It's not bad. It's not bad. I won't be buying it. And I know I've said that about certain other merch and then I'm sitting there wearing it. But, you know, usually I'm all over it. I'm not particularly bothered about this, if I'm being honest. I mean, the tracksuit's not bad that Rice has got on. It's all right. It's all right. But I'd rather have a striker and a centre mid that's available than the PR and the merch. So, yeah. The injuries have definitely put a dampener on any potential merch sales. That is for sure, people. And they're expensive. They're a little bit more expensive than usual. So ESR is officially, at the moment, he's a model. He's a boohoo model for Arsenal at the moment. He can't get a kick of a football, but any new merch needs releasing, and ESR will definitely be there. Remember, this is the same ESR that has Trust the Process tattooed on him as a show of faith to Mikel Arteta, yet he still can't get a kick. But hey, merch ain't going to sell itself for ESR. So, are you fit, bruv? Yeah, I am. You're not here for football. You're going on the catwalk with the new merch next week. So, yeah, all they needed was a puppy or a kitten to put on Saka's chest, and that would have just finished it all off. But hey, it is what it is, people. Big up to everyone locked in. Nearly 1,500 of you in here already. As I said, the breaking news for Arsenal today is that Gabriel Jesus and Thomas Partey are ruled out for the next few weeks and may not play for Arsenal until the next international break. Thomas Partey being injured surprises absolutely no one. The Gabriel Jesus one is a body blow. As you know, Jesus actually said in the interview after the game, he didn't think it was anything major and he felt he may be available quickly. But it seems as if he's tweaked his hamstring and he's going to be out for the next few weeks. And that for me is... That for me now is at the point where you have to look at Gabriel Jesus as now an unreliable player. As I said, he missed 12 Premier League games last season. He's already missed a number of games. He's going to miss more. You cannot rely on him. I think he's a fantastic football player, but Arsenal need a new striker, and they need a new striker in January, not at the end of the season. We will not get through a whole season relying on Jorginho and Eddie Nketiah, you know, coming in for those two. So we need to go and sign players in January. Right, let's talk a bit of transfer news. I'm going to apologise before I even talk about this story. And all I can say is don't shoot the messenger. He's all over the thumbnail. He's the main headline. And I'm going to sing. It's too late to apologise. Sorry, I had to. It was there in my head, you know, the apology, it was there. I'm just going to put it on screen and take a sip of the drink. Some of you will be excited by the picture. Some of you will be angry with me. But I'm just reporting the news. I apologise. Tchouameni. I know what a lot of you are thinking. Choo-choo! Choo-choo! Get him to Arsenal, people. Get him in! Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely no chance do I think it's going to happen. But it's in the news. Information and entertainment. I don't know if this is more info or entertainment. I'm trying to figure out which one it is. I don't want to put any excitement out there that I don't expect to happen. I really don't. I personally think he is a fantastic footballer, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. If there is any, and I mean any possibility that you can do it, break the bank and do it. But I don't expect it to happen, is what I'm saying. I don't want to lead Arsenal fans with a false narrative. According to reports, Arsenal have prioritised signing Real Madrid and France midfielder Tchouameni, who is 23, next summer as they look for a top midfielder to play alongside Declan Rice. Real Madrid would want 90 to 100 million pounds for him. Now, what they're running with in this story is that they're saying Real Madrid are overloaded with midfielders. They want to bring in Mbappe and a few others next summer, and they may be forced to sell. I don't believe it, because first of all, Mbappe is on a free. Of course, he will cost big wages, big signing on fee, but there's no transfer fee. Second of all, okay, they've got Tchouameni, Camavinga, Bellingham, Valverde, Modric, Toni Kroos. So there's a lot of centre midfielders there. But for me, I think Toni Kroos probably leaves at the end of the season. His contract finishes in the summer. And Modric, how much longer has he got left in the tank? I think he's in his late 30s now. I don't see any way on earth that Real Madrid let Tchouameni go at 23 years of age. He's an outstanding footballer. I just can't see it. So it's nice to talk about it. It's nice to imagine the possibility. Imagine Tchouameni and Declan Rice. I don't think there's any chance that it happens. I wish there was. I would love us to sign him, but I don't see it. That's my honest opinion. Omid, who's a big Madrid fan, he said, Big C is a Madrid fan. There are 3 players in my mind that are priceless. Fede, Tchouameni, and Jude Bellingham. Fede is that's Federico Valverde, right? I don't see him going anywhere. I think Tchouameni, Camavinga, and Valverde and Jude Bellingham, that is their midfield for the future. With Toni Kroos and Modric moving on. Listen, if there's any possibility, genuinely, I would pay 100 million for him. I would pay 100 million for him. 23 years of age. Him and Rice would be an absolute cheat code. I know Arsenal were interested in him before he went to Real Madrid, but I just don't see it happening. He's getting game time. I just don't think it's going to happen. I love Camavinga. I love Valverde. I love Bellingham. I love Tchouameni. It's actually not fair that they've got 4 centre midfielders of that level, but it is Real Madrid, so I understand it. So, listen, for me, any possibility of getting him, do it. But I don't see it happening. I think Arsenal would be better off going for somebody like Barella, because I do think you could get him out of Inter Milan. I think financially there is issues there. I think they would cash in on Barella. There's also talk of Zubimendi. We know he's got a 50 million release clause. I think you could get that one. Mel Malaysian Guna said Yusuf Fofana, cheaper option. Said many times Fofana at Monaco is a very... I think he's somebody that you could get for a good price, maybe £40 million. He's in the French squad. He's youngish as well. I like the link. Listen, I bring the picture on the screen because even seeing the picture with his badge in the background is exciting. The link even excites me. But deep down, I know it isn't going to happen. We ain't getting this one. Big up Snake Eyes. But Barella, I would be very, very interested in Barella, man. I think he's a top player, and I do think Inter would actually sell. Believe money talks. Yeah, the thing is, Madrid are a team that they're not short on money, so... But it'd be interesting. Imagine if Arsenal put 100 million on the table. Would they consider it? Probably not, but I think it's more likely we go for somebody like a Douglas Luiz or somebody along those lines. So, anyway, Tchouameni. I think nearly every Arsenal fan in the comments would want him, that's for sure. Jitesh said, put Ramsdale at centre mid. The guy can ping a ball. Inverted goalkeeper. Adeyemi, thank you for the super sticker, bro. Big up yourself. Mob Squad says no chance. Yeah, I hear you. Cooper, thank you for the super chat. Get Ivan Toney to the carpet. We need a physical presence. At the moment, we just need a striker that doesn't get injured every 10 games. That's the starting point. They paid 80 million, I guess, says Zhao. Yes, listen, when they paid that, they're going to want big money. Snake Eye said 100 million and a pound. Nostra said Douglas Luiz. At this point, I'll take Douglas Luiz, honestly. Never said expectation, Tchouameni, reality, Yuri Tillemans. Kim Kallstrom. Faluso said Fofana is a very good option. I like him. I think he's gettable. Monaco would sell him at the right price. It would boost his opportunity of getting in the French squad. Arsenal Forever said, big up Curtis, rather spend 100 million on Osimhen. I think he'd cost even more than that. But I hear you. Maybe you feel the striker is the bigger priority. So, yeah, Tchouameni being linked, but we will see with that one. Second bit of transfer news that I want to talk about. And it's like a merry-go-round at the moment, isn't it? And it is Aaron Ramsdale being linked today in the Daily Mirror with a move to Chelsea. Aaron Ramsdale being linked with a move to Chelsea, people. And I just want to give a bit of context to this whole situation and what I think and what probably the manager thinks on this. Listen, first of all, with him being linked to Chelsea, he's obviously finding himself in a situation where, in reality, if Jordan Pickford stays fit between now and the end of the season, Pickford's going to start for England. That's the reality is ahead of him. Whether he's better than him or not, he's done the business in an England shirt. That's what Southgate feels. Now, Ramsdale's only hope of getting in the England team was starting for Arsenal, playing well and putting the pressure on him. He can't put no pressure on Pickford while he's sitting on the bench for Arsenal. I've always said this situation I don't think will last beyond the summer. You will not have two goalkeepers of this level for more than one season because goalkeepers are not prepared to do that. And Ramsdale can get a good move. Let's be real, take out the Arsenal fan context of it. If I'm Ramsdale and I'm sitting on the bench at Arsenal and Chelsea come in for me with all their players, they'll give him more wages. He can stay in London. It's a big club, whether we like it or not. It's a fantastic move for him. And we know that Arsenal, for some stupid reason, love doing business with Chelsea. I can see people in the chat saying we want 65 million, 70 million. It's Arsenal and Chelsea. We'll probably sell him for 30, 40 million. Because for some reason, we seem to love doing business with Chelsea. We overpay for their players and we sell players cheap. Here, I have Ashley Cole, mate. 11 million plus Gallas. One of the best left-backs of all time. When we want to buy your player, there you go, 65 million for Kai Havertz. They'll probably pay 35, 40 million for him and get a bargain deal for him. It's Arsenal. I get your 65, 70 million is what I'd be asking for, but don't expect that to happen. Not with Arsenal and not with the way we are with Chelsea. Now, I just want to speak about something before we go back on this, because I've got a few notes here. I am going to put that picture back on the screen, and I'm going to do a poll. So, the Ramsdale-Raya situation at the moment. It's massive news amongst the Arsenal fans. Who should play tomorrow, Ramsdale or Raya? Who's the better goalkeeper? Who do we want in the team? Is he improving us? There's a lot of debate at the moment about what goalkeeper should be in goal, who's the better keeper, what direction we need to move in terms of the two goalkeepers. Now, what's so interesting about this situation is when you bring up stats, these are the stats from this season, right? These are stats from this season. David Raya, right? More ball recoveries, more passes attempted, better pass accuracy, more long passes attempted, more long pass accuracy, less goals conceded and more saves made and a better save percentage. So isn't it crazy how stats tell a different story to the eye test? If I brought them two stats up to you since David Raya has been at Arsenal, you'd go, David Raya is the better goalkeeper. Look at the stats. But then you watch the game and you're going to go, David Raya looks shaky though. He's making more mistakes than Ramsdale. And I just want to give my opinion on something. It's kind of my version of events and what I think the manager thinks. My thing is this, right? David Raya might be better than Ramsdale. He might not. The stats are in his favour. And the stats don't lie at the end of the day. The stats don't lie. But also, you need to put context behind them. I could complete more passes than you. You could be a goalkeeper. I'm a goalkeeper. I make 50 passes in a game. You make 20 passes in a game. I've completed more passes than you. So in theory, I look better than you at passing the ball out. But if I make 4 mistakes in those 50 passes and you make 1 mistake, who's the better goalkeeper? What do you actually prefer? Do you want the goalkeeper that completes more passes? Or do you want the one that makes less mistakes? So that's where I think stats can be a little bit deceiving. You have to put context into it as well. Now, I'm still at a stage where I don't know who the better goalkeeper is. I don't. I haven't actually seen David Raya at Arsenal long enough to feel that I can make a judgment on whether he's better or not. I think he needs more time for us to say that. Some people say English bias. Oh, they're biased towards Ramsdale because he's English. Or this, that, the other. I'm not interested whether you're English or not. I purely want the better player to play in each position. I think that at the moment, when you go from a smaller club to a big club, the biggest hurdle you've got to overcome is, can you deal with the expectation and the pressure of making that step up? It's the reason Ross Barkley wasn't a success at Chelsea. It's the reason Jack Rodwell didn't succeed at Man City, or Calvin Phillips, or Francis Jeffers when we bought him for big money, because talent is one thing. Talent is one thing. But producing it under more pressure is another thing. At the moment, it's impossible not to have question marks over David Raya. We've all watched him and we all think the guy looks shaky. And he does. There's no doubt about it. He is making mistakes in most games. Hasn't been punished that many times for the mistakes. But he is making mistakes and he's not filling me with confidence. I got to be honest, he's not. But what I think people have to understand from the manager's point of view, he signed him because there's something about Aaron Ramsdale. He's not convinced that he can go to that next level. He was probably signed to get us back in the top 4. Now, David Raya, the goalkeeper he wanted before Ramsdale, by the way, he's now found the opportunity 2 years later and said, actually, you can get the goalkeeper you really want. You can get the one that you really want. And I think he's going to stick with him. I mean, Don said, Curtis, do you think as fans are making it hard on Raya? But I think we were always going to make it difficult for him, because I tell you my issue. My issue was always, if you're going to upgrade Ramsdale, sign somebody that's noticeably better than him. Do you know what I mean? Like when Liverpool bought Alisson, it was a big upgrade on Mignolet. When they bought Ederson, he was a big upgrade on Joe Hart. You know, I wanted Arsenal, if you're going to replace Ramsdale, sign a top quality goalkeeper. I believe they're at a similar level. I honestly think they're at a similar level. Maybe Raya's a little bit better with the ball at his feet. And I think Ramsdale maybe is better at certain other things. Is he a better shot stopper? So it's an interesting situation, and I guarantee you for the rest of the season we'll be talking about it. It's going to be spoken about for the rest of the season. So I think David Raya will play tomorrow, because I think the manager has made his decision already. I know a lot of people are saying, yeah, since David Raya's come in, you know, he has, and Ramsdale. But we're not judging Aaron Ramsdale on what he's done since David Raya's come in. We're judging Aaron Ramsdale on what he's done in the 2 years that he's been at the club. That's what the manager's judging him on. He hasn't just started again and thought, right, the moment Raya walks through the door, I'm going to make it. It's not. So some people are saying, you know, Ramsdale, it's an unfair comparison. But it's not, though, because he's had 2 years here to prove himself. And the manager, for whatever reason, sees a weakness in his game that he believes that David Raya has got. So I think as a fan base, we've got to just be patient with David Raya. I know there's a lot. It's turned into a Ramsdale Raya thing. And for me, I don't have no horse in this race. I don't care about. I honestly not bothered about which one plays. I just want the better one to prevail. Listen, and like KC saying there, my opinion, and I know I hate to harp on about it, the best goalkeeper at Arsenal in the last number of years is the one we sold to Aston Villa. He's better than both of these goalkeepers. But, you know, it is what it is, and I don't like to bang on about it, but I think we've just got to stick with David Raya, people. No matter, I know there's now all of a sudden Ramsdale's got a fan club that's come out of nowhere. But we got to stick with Raya. He's going to play tomorrow. He's going to play tomorrow. I'll put money on it. Aaron Ramsdale will play on Wednesday against West Ham in the Carabao Cup. So I think whether you want Ramsdale or not, I think it will be David Raya. The one thing that I do think Ramsdale proved that Raya needs to prove is Ramsdale looks like he can deal with being at a big club. And I think Raya needs to prove that. But he probably needs time. He probably needs time. And it's Sheffield United tomorrow. And I think the manager will be looking at it thinking, you know what? We'll beat them. We'll keep a clean sheet. It's a home game. And it's an opportunity to boost his confidence in front of the home fans. DV said the question is, who's a top quality goalkeeper? I mean, listen, that's not for me to answer. I'm off the top of my head, most of the best goalkeepers play for the best clubs. That's the problem. You know, you're going to have to pay big money. We're not going to get Courtois. Could you have got Ter Stegen off Barcelona? Probably not. It's difficult. So, yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. I like the Milan goalkeeper. Is it Mike Mignon? I don't know how you say, but you know what I mean? He's a good keeper. Hardly said, Curtis, we're bringing unnecessary attention on us with our goalkeeper. Listen, it's not us. The media are asking it every single press conference. If you type Sky Sports YouTube in now, I guarantee they're talking about it. We're in the background talking about it. It's out there. The media are all over it. Gary Neville saying you can't maintain two goalkeepers of this level. It's there, whether we like it or not. We're just talking about what is relevant in the news. And it is a big talking point. Can Arsenal maintain two goalkeepers of that level? Ramsdale's now being linked with Chelsea. I'm going to put a poll up. About Ramsdale and Chelsea. And because I can't help but think if Chelsea actually come in and make an offer, I can't help but think that the deal might happen. Would you sell Ramsdale to Chelsea? Yes or no? And I'm assuming if you would sell him, you're going to obviously ask for an inflated price. We shouldn't be doing them any favours. You know, if they called me, they said, we want Ramsdale, I'd say 65 million. They'd say, why 65 million? I'd say, because that's what you bumped us out of in the summer for Kai Havertz. And that guy's done absolutely nothing. A 10-yard pass against Man City to set up Martinelli. I'd say I want my money back. I want the whole 65 million back for Ramsdale. If it's a penny less, you're not having him. But listen, that's me, and football doesn't work like that. I think what people have to understand with Arsenal, our record transfer is 40 million out of the club. 40 million for Iwobi and Oxlade-Chamberlain. So if you turn up with 45 million for Ramsdale, I think they'd take it. Not that I would, but I think they would. We don't sell players for big money. It's still an area that we massively need to improve on. And like I said, if Ramsdale's sitting there in January with a Chelsea move and he's going to start and he believes he's better than Sanchez, he might start making noises that he wants that move. So Curtis, is Ramsdale really better than Sanchez? I don't think so. I've never really rated that Sanchez, to be honest. And he definitely, that what he did the other day was shocking. Problem with Mignon is he could be the same as Onana at United. Good when not in the Prem, not good once he gets the Prem. It's always the risk, isn't it? It's always the risk. Use that money for a new striker. Peter says minimum 80 million. To Chelsea. What of the Balogun money? Yeah, 35 plus 5 in add-on, so that will end up being 40 million as well. Listen, me personally, this is the situation I would be in with Aaron Ramsdale. I would try and convince Ramsdale to stay until the summer. I think what we have to understand is that David Raya is not even our player yet. He's only on loan. We have the option to buy him, but you just never know what's going to happen. Imagine we sold Ramsdale, David Raya gets a bad injury. What are we doing then? We've got no goalkeeper. You're playing Cole Hine. Or obviously, if Ramsdale went, you'd sign a second choice. But I would say to him, unless Chelsea are going to pay crazy money for you in January, I need you here until the summer. And in the summer, we'll then have the conversation. I don't necessarily think it's game over for Ramsdale yet. I think he's got to show some fight about him, and it's difficult. It really is, especially for a goalkeeper, because it's not like you come off the bench during a game and a striker you can keep scoring and put pressure on. He'll play on Wednesday against West Ham, and then he'll sit back down on the bench for probably another 4 weeks. Well, I think he should stay until the summer, but we'll have to see. Salman said, package deal, Ramsdale with Havertz, 75 million. Yeah, they can have Havertz back. You can get him for free. Rowley said, I like Ramsdale's character. I would like him in my team. Tony, Louisa, Neto, job done. There would be a great window. I'd be surprised if we spent as much money as those three would potentially cost. Dad said, Arsenal are shocking at transfers. Buy high and sell low. KS said, we need to buy a midfielder and a striker and a right winger before we address anything else. Gimme Zubomendi, Tony and Neto in the summer. Let me read these few super chats. Jitesh said, tell Chelsea if they want Ramsdale, give us 60 million and take Havertz back. Big C, do you think Tony can handle the pressure at Arsenal unlike Raya? I mean, we never know. We just don't know. The difference with a striker and a goalkeeper can make 5 good saves, make 1 mistake, and he's had a bad game. The difference with a striker, you can miss 2 or 3 chances and score 1 and you're still the hero. So I believe Ivan Toney's job would be easier than David Raya's job, because I think Ivan Toney would get chance after chance after chance. Do you know what I mean? So, but time will tell. It's always the risk when you sign a player from a club that's not as big. Alfred said 80% of Martinelli's goals are in the striker position. He's really cutting in and whipping it in the far corner because he's a striker. We've been having this discussion for a long time, haven't we, Alfred, about Martinelli playing up front. It's something I wouldn't mind seeing, but I just don't see it. He looks like he would rather play Trossard or Havertz or Nketiah or Jesus when he's fit. I think he's way down the pecking order. Alfred also said Ramsdale is the better keeper. He gets in opponents' heads. He gets the fans going. His kicking is better. He's definitely a better shot stopper. I think definitely, like I said, he's proved his character that he can play for a big club. Rambo reminds me of the inflatable man at car yard, says Laza. Big up yourself. SG said the perfect goalkeeper for Arsenal is Beetlejuice. There we go, SG. Mr. Modo said, I wish we had 2 similar goalkeepers at the Champions League final. 06 against Barca. I believe Arteta has fought this through. Yeah, of course. Lehmann sent off. Almunia comes on. And listen, we don't like to talk about Manuel Almunia on this channel. The vote's there. What would you do with Ramsdale? Chelsea interested? I'm sure he'll be interested. Chelsea pay big wages. I would try and convince him to stay until the summer. What I don't think Arsenal need is to be doing loads of business in January, you know, selling a keeper, buying another keeper. Can you buy a striker? Can you buy a right winger? Do you need a centre mid? You don't want to have to make wholesale changes in January. You have to keep it like as calm as possible. So I would say to Ramsdale, listen, mate, unless Chelsea break the bank, you ain't going nowhere, as harsh as that sounds. So that would be my opinion on Aaron Ramsdale. But being linked with a move to Chelsea, and I think that tells you everything. The goalkeeper market right now is not a strong market. It really isn't. You look at Tottenham, they bought a fairly unknown goalkeeper from Italy. Man United signed Onana, very highly rated. He's been struggling big time. You know, Liverpool and Man City, they're set. They got their goalkeeper. What I would say with Arsenal, moving forward, I think Arsenal need to find a goalkeeper that is our goalkeeper for 4, 5 years. You look at the best goalkeepers around: Neuer, Ter Stegen, Courtois, Alisson, Ederson, Oblak. They have been in their team for years and years and years. You get a quality goalkeeper, you stick with him, and you build around him. I think Arsenal have changed goalkeepers far too much over the last few years. Emi Martinez. In fact, we had Peter Cech before that, then Leno, then Emi gets in, then we go back to Leno, then we go, Aaron Ramsdale, then now we've got David Raya, we've had, Runarsson and Turner and Ryan, and, we've had too many goalkeepers over the last few years. You need a top quality number one, you stick with them and you build around them, So I think we've changed too much, and it's interesting. The manager convinces us this guy is the guy. Leno's my number one. Emi's gone. Leno. Year later, bang, he can't kick the ball good enough. Now I'm going on Ramsdale because he's so good on the ball. Believe me, don't worry, he's come from Sheffield United. He's brilliant. 2 years later, we're like, okay, actually, he's a good goalkeeper. Now he's not good enough. Bang, David Raya comes in. Just calm down. Get the right goalkeeper and stick with him. That's what we need, break the bank if you have to. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, let's move on, people. It is, I was going to say lunchtime. It's a bit later than lunchtime, but you know what time it is. It is waffle time. It's time to hear press conference reaction from the manager himself, Mikel Arteta. Man music. Mickey Roast, the boss, rocking that brand new Maharishi merch. We've got no centre midfielder in Partey. We've got no striker in Gabriel Jesus. But damn, we got tracksuit tops, hoodies and T-shirts all over the armoury, people. Next day delivery. Let's hear what he had to say regarding the injuries, regarding the Sheffield United game. We will preview that game after this. And let's hear what he had to say on the fitness of Thomas Partey. Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? He's got a muscle injury. We are expecting him to be out for a few weeks. We don't really know the extent of it. He has more tests today, but he picked up that injury in a training session with the last kick of the ball before Sevilla. So very unfortunate. Yeah, very unfortunate, mate. Never got injured in Spain. Comes to us. He's made out of tissue paper, this guy, honestly. Doesn't take a lot. Last kick. Maybe it was the kick where he kicked the ball to reveal his child. I think it was that kick. Interesting that he says he'll be out for a few weeks, but we don't really know the extent of it. So, they do another scan. That could be even worse. Who knows? It's just... Do you know what? We've gone from Robbie spinning around the Emirates when Partey signed to now I'm just... Even talking about him annoys me. Genuinely. It annoys me even talking about Thomas Partey. It's like he plays for Arsenal, but he doesn't play for Arsenal. It's like, what's the point in being at the club anymore? Can't rely on him. He's a squad player now, honestly. We've got to sign a midfielder. Is it the same injury as before? He said, no, it's something different. I mean, the man's whole body's just breaking down. I'm telling you, that was a grandchild reveal, not a child reveal. Just injuring all over the place. On if playing for Ghana contributed to it, he said, I don't think so. He was coming from a period of absence and he needed minutes. He played with the national team. We always tried to be in touch with them. Then we had 2 games, Chelsea and Sevilla, very close. We decided not to load him in the first game to play him in Sevilla. Then that happened in training. So sometimes it's difficult. You try to prevent... If he were to get injured against Chelsea or City, you would have said we rushed him. Then you rest him and he gets injured. It's things that happen in football. Listen, he's a Cat D car now, mate. Seriously, the insurance has gone through the roof. The Indomie noodles can't save him. I'm convinced. Listen, I don't think we can sell him in January because in January, he's going AFCON. He's been injured half the season. He's on 200 bags. I don't think anybody will be knocking our door down to sign him. I think you keep him till the end of the season and I think you get rid of him. He'll have a year left on his deal. Simple as that. You shift him for whatever you can. On the Gabriel Jesus fitness, he said the scan shows there is a muscle injury and we might lose him for a few weeks again. I mean, come on. It's just, oh, God. It's just so annoying. I'm literally just, I've had enough of injury-prone players, man. Honestly, it's just so annoying. Elliot said, "Nyamming waffles, sipping syrup. Got to put the blaze to the sword with that cone man music. Big up yourself." Cat D Partey, people. Cat D Partey. I called Nketiah a breadback Partey in the last stream. I'm now calling him Cat D Partey as a write-off. Would you sell Aaron Ramsdale to Chelsea? 72% say no, 28% say yes. So people not trying to feed Chelsea any of our players. I mean, there is players you can have. Jorginho, you can have Havertz, you can have El Neni, but yeah. Partey's MOT is out of date, says Pete. I agree with that one. Gabriel Jesus out for a few weeks. Thomas Partey out for a few weeks. On if it will be after the international break for Gabriel Jesus, said, with Gabby, I cannot give you a time frame. He always surprises us. There is something there. He felt it in a really awkward action. It's true he's had quite a lot of load in the last few weeks for the national team, then playing those games, which he hasn't done in a long time. Really bad news for us. Should he have played for Brazil? Is another question. But hey, I suppose it's difficult to stop players playing for their country, but it's frustrating, you know. I don't know. Nothing to say about it. It's so annoying. I think the best comment of today is that somebody said Partey and Jesus have now become the squad player. Eddie Nketiah and Jorginho are actually the starting player because of the injuries and the availability. And that is concerning. On being able to rotate, he said we have 3 big players now with Jurian, who has a long-term injury, with Thomas and him. He said one thing is to rotate, the other thing is for the squad to be to the level, to pick the right players in the right moment. Then you're rotating for the first game. After that, you need to carry on playing with injuries. It's what we want to avoid with the schedule we have, the amount of games. Something we knew was going to happen. It's happening to every club. Listen, we always said this season would be possibly the biggest test of Arteta's career because it's you know, other managers have got to deal with this. Pep, Klopp, these guys have all dealt with Champions League on Wednesday, Premier League, Champions League, Premier League. For the last 5-6 years, we've been in Europa League. You play on a Thursday. You can rotate 7-8 players because you're playing inferior opposition, and it's much easier to deal with. This is Champions League. You've got a difficult game every week now. And this is what we're having to see. Now, my question to Mikel Arteta would be, number one, you've signed players for good money that have not improved the team, i.e. Havertz and Fabio Vieira. They cost you 100 million and you obviously don't feel you can rely on them. On top of that, you got players like Emile Smith-Rowe, who is a high-quality player who you're not playing. So you're going to get injuries if you keep picking the same players all the time, you know. You need to rotate in certain positions a little bit more, you know. On if Martin Odegaard needs a rest, he said, to get to the level they perform, our front players last season, it's difficult. It hasn't happened in the Premier League. We need to be conscious of that. That's about form, putting him in better positions, doing things better in certain areas. That obviously helps him to explore his qualities. They've played a lot of minutes. On how good Declan has been, he said he's been terrific. He's performed at the highest level, especially in big games. When you see your big players, he has to step out there. His contribution in these games has been important. I'm really pleased. Declan Rice been superb. He really has. But the unfortunate thing, you look at the 3 other signings of the summer. Havertz at the moment has been a big L. And I'm not talking about the rapper from Harlem. You've got Jurian Timber, who's out for 9 months. So he played 1 game and got injured. And you've got David Raya at the moment. You know, he's making us, you know, nervous as hell at the moment. So the other 3 signings have not been successful at the moment. On where he wants to improve from the Chelsea game, he said the way we started the first 20 minutes, especially the way we lost momentum, losing certain duels, and changed the shift of momentum. Then for other periods, we continue to do a lot of good things. All the time, we need to be better, play better, and be more dominant and efficient, especially in the final third. So he's looking for more goals. You know, he's looking for more. But it doesn't help when our players keep getting injured. On what he expects from Sheffield United, looking at the way they've played against the top teams, how much they have suffered to beat them. Some of them scored in the 100th minute, some others scoring late goals. They've been tricky. We expect the same. They are fighting for their lives. Let me say one thing about Sheffield United. It is the Premier League, and I'm not going to be disrespectful because I said earlier I want a comfortable day at the office for Arsenal tomorrow, but when do Arsenal ever really produce that? For me, Sheffield United are the worst team in the Premier League. They're the worst team in the Premier League. They've scored the second lowest amount of goals and they've conceded the most. If we don't beat Sheffield United comfortably tomorrow, I will be frustrated. These are the games you have to boost your goal difference. Newcastle scored 8 goals against them. We need to score goals tomorrow. On if he feels there's more depth in the team, he said there is depth. Obviously, it will depend on the injuries. Let's skip it. On how we guard against complacency, he said, since yesterday, everybody has been on their toes. When they walk in that door, they knew what is coming and what to expect. I was very clear. On whether the amount of games is causing injury problems, he says, no, I think there are periods and some days you get unlucky. Things that are difficult to prevent. Skip that. On the current demands of the players, he said, what we need is more players. There's no secret. The players have a certain amount of energy and the battery only lasts for so long or we will burn them out. We will need more players, and if that's the case, we will have to adapt. I mean, do you agree with it? The interesting thing about that I look at is you name a 25-man squad. Is the first thing I would say is our 25-man squad good enough? And the second thing is, do you use enough of the players? I think 25 players is enough players if you've got high quality players within those 25. I think Arsenal have got probably 14, maybe 15 who are good enough, and then I think you're scraping the barrel, if I'm being totally honest. I think our starting 11's good. I think you've then got maybe a Trossard, a Smith Rowe, Tomiyasu if he doesn't start. And then after that, one of the goalkeepers who's on the bench. So you get to about 14, 15. Then you're struggling. Then you're talking about Cedric, El Neni, Eddie Nketiah, Havertz, Fabio Vieira, Jorginho, and then you're talking about young players. So there is where the weakness is. I don't think you need more than 25 players. You just don't have players beyond about 14, 15 that are good enough. But yeah, somebody just said there, maybe he's calling for January signings, which is good. Put the pressure on the board. But the board will turn around and say, Havertz hasn't worked. Fabio Vieira hasn't worked. So you've got to also spend the money better. On player welfare, when it comes to gambling, he said everybody that is working at the organisation are the service of the players, try to help them with anything they need in their lives. First of all, we have to look after their welfare. We have a huge responsibility to educate them, show them values, communicate, guide them, try to give them advice if they want. We always have to be close. I think they were asking about Tonali, who's about to get a 10-month ban for betting. I can tell you something, and just from my experience of playing in the lower leagues of English football, gambling is very, very big in English football. I can tell you that for sure. I think you got to understand, these guys train for 2 or 3 hours a day. You know, I used to get home for 12:30 in the afternoon. Finish training at 11:30, 11:45. You're back home by 12:30. You got money in your pocket. You're young. And these players get bored. And these guys are millionaires. You know what I mean? So imagine being a young, 18, 19-year-old coming from difficult backgrounds and there's £1 million in your bank account. You're in a 9-bedroom mansion. You've got a Ferrari on the drive. You know, I'm not surprised sometimes that these footballers, a lot of it is boredom as well. And people always think, oh, well, that guy's on 100 grand a week, so why does he need to gamble? He's got the money. It's greed. But, a lot of these footballers with big money, their outgoings are massive. Listen, and Rodney, I'm not defending gambling. I'm not. But what I'm saying, I know footballers, Premier League footballers who earn big money and they don't have much money at the end of the month because they're paying for their mum's car, they're paying for their dad's house, they're paying for their brother's car. They're living the high life. It's crazy. I think football has to look at themselves before they start blaming players. I mean, look how many gambling companies are sponsoring football clubs. Ironically, Ivan Toney's club, Brentford, are sponsored by a betting company, So these clubs have to look at themselves. If they can take a betting company's money and then your player starts gambling, do you know what I mean? I think, you got to look at yourselves as well before anything. If you want gambling out of the game, don't accept the money of a gambling company as a football club. So I'm not defending the players. I think we also have to understand it can become an addiction to these players as well, like anything else. Jay said adrenaline rush from gambling is massive, can be worse than drugs and alcohol. It's crazy. I mean, Jason's saying they're grown men need to own their behaviour, but sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes it could be a footballer just being greedy and he wants to win more. But sometimes, it is an addiction. So I think we got to look at that as well. Yeah, Lewis, you need to relax with that super chat, bro. Nimbo, tell him calm down. But anyway, let's move on. On if that is almost as important as the football side of the club, he said, for sure, especially when players are coming from abroad. They don't have their families, they don't have relatives, so they can feel lonely. They can have a lot of time to think, a lot of time to make some good or bad decisions. We have to help them to make sure they take the right path, make sure they have a life that fulfills what they need within the age group they're in. On why Martin Odegaard was taken off against Chelsea and Sevilla, it's not hard to work that out. He said it can be in relation to the performance, the tactics, or how the game is shifting. I think somebody is going to be more suited to get freshness in the team. We've played a lot of games. We want to give them that energy as well in the last few minutes. I mean, look, man, Martin Odegaard has struggled. A lot of people are saying he should be rested tomorrow, but as I've said all week, Sheffield United at home is the perfect game for him to probably play himself back into form. So I think you'll see David Raya. I think you'll see Martin Odegaard. I think, if the sun's out tomorrow and we got 70% possession, it'll probably look brilliant again tomorrow, Alfred said, Barca playing 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds in the Champions League. Why isn't our 16-year-old kid midfielder not in the team? He's physically better than Jorginho and Vieira and probably better on the ball. Do you know what? That's a great question or point that you're making. When Barca need a midfielder, they pick one out of their academy. Pedri or Gavi or, Sergi Roberto or Jordi Alba was, obviously Messi came through. It's crazy because you think to yourself, we pile millions of pounds into the academies. Are we producing enough players? Listen, I suppose they will look at now. If you look at the team now, Saka and Smith Rowe. Eddie came through the system. But yeah, there's no midfielder. And you do have to look at that because you'd say, hang on a minute, if you need a centre midfielder, is there not a 19-year-old in the youth team that's better than Jorginho or better than El Neni? They're good points to be made, but it's difficult for me to answer. It's difficult. Joe Willock, he came through the system. Obviously, we got good money for him. Iwobi came through. We sold him as well. Anyway, in relation to Martin Odegaard, on how he sets the bar so high for himself, he said he's an incredible player. He's done and he's doing so much. He's our captain. We expect him all the time to step in like we do with other players. This is great. That's the role he has, and we have developed him into that player in person. Now it's about maintaining and sustaining that level. That's the challenge. Listen, I wish somebody would have asked him, are you going to continue to... would you ever consider changing the captain? But they're not going to ask that, unfortunately. Let's clip through the waffle. On if the 25-man squad should be increased, he said, we have more games, more competitiveness, and physical standards are higher. We're going to play more minutes. We have to do that. Or instead of 5 subs, we can have 10. Now the 5 subs are something normal. Before it was a big fight to go from 3 to 5. Now I cannot imagine a game in conditions we have today after that last year in the World Cup that we didn't have 5 subs. It would be so difficult. We'd have to think, if the calendar extends, we have to think about ways of not dropping the quality. The only way to do that is players have to have certain availability. So he's asking for bigger squads. He's asking for a bigger squad. And he obviously feels that we need more players, which is interesting because I just don't see owners. You're going to say, look, 25-man squad is big enough. You just need more quality within that 25-man squad, you know? Do you think they should extend the substitutes from 5 maybe to 7 or 10? And if that's a conversation going around the managers, let's skip that. And if the squad is better equipped to cope with losing players, said I think so. We're better equipped. We have more quality. We have players that fit what we need. And if it's a chance for Eddie with Gabriel being out, oh damn. He said, what you see, where he's coming from and what he's done the last 3 or 4 years at a club like Arsenal to play as a 9, he's made some huge strides and it's merit to him and his mentality. I just want to remind you, he has 2 goals in 30 games. 2 goals in 30 games. Now, let me just say, he has improved in terms of, you know, he's come through the youth team. He's now an England international. He has improved, but he's still not at the level that we need. That's what we need to make abundantly clear here. Eddie has improved. He's worked hard. I'll never question that. You know, he's got stronger. He's got in the England squad. Is he at Arsenal level? Not a chance. Not a chance he should be starting for Arsenal. Big up Dre, who said, well, go on, Curtis. Big up the chat. Hope you're well, bro. So, yeah, he's doing his PR for Eddie. On Tomiyasu's 50th Premier League game, if he plays on Saturday, he said he was terrific in Seville. I think he played a really good game when he came on against Chelsea. He's a player everybody loves in there. He's always the first and always the last. You tell him to do something, he will give his life for it. He's an exceptional professional player. He gives us versatility and qualities that nobody else has in the squad. For me, is very important. On how useful it is to have someone who can play in many different positions. I mean, it is important, innit? Let's skip it. And if the quality of the league will be damaged if the squad sizes aren't increased. He said there are a few risks. Obviously, try not to do that, but it depends on as well the kind of profiles. He's desperate for this squad to be bigger. And if Kai Havertz will be considered for the number 9 role, he said, yes, we have different profiles. For Kai, the minutes that he's played, he's been really good. It's good and it's difficult for the opponent as well to figure out who will play. And I think that's a positive. This is the cap bit here, by the way. This right here. For Kai, the minutes that he's played, he's been really good. Cap, and more cap. Let's end it there, people. Let's end it there. He tried to sneak that one in at the end, thinking we wouldn't pick up on that. Oh, he's been really good. He's done really well for us. Yeah, has he? I wish they could have asked another question after that. Anyway, let's focus on tomorrow's game. Apologies for the waffle from Mikel. 2,000 of you in the chat. Make sure you like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. If you can't see what he does off the ball, you don't understand football, Curtis. That's what they say to me. If you can't see what Havertz does off the ball, you don't understand football. What about what he does on the ball? Any chance of that? Or we just go, nah, we'll ignore that. Let's have a look at the Premier League table. Arsenal, 3rd place. If we win tomorrow, we're top of the Premier League. In fact, no, Tottenham play tonight. So if Tottenham win tonight, they will stay top. A draw would give us an opportunity to go top, depending on how many goals we score. Manchester City go to Manchester United on Sunday. Big game, Manchester derby. Can United take points off City? We'll be hoping so. Let's have a look at Sheffield United. Rock bottom of the league. The worst team in the Premier League. 5 games, their last 5, they've lost all 5. They've lost 8 out of 9. 1 draw. They haven't won a game. They are dreadful. They are absolutely dreadful. I mean, the only thing I can say, because I want to be honest and balanced about what they've done in previous games, they only lost 2-1 to Manchester United, which is not bad. They only lost 2-1 to Tottenham. And they only lost 2-1 to Manchester City. So I do have to give them some credit that as bad as I think they are, they've actually done all right in most of the big games. Now, the one where they really got dealt with was Newcastle. They lost 8-0 to Newcastle. Newcastle were 3-0 up at half-time. So what I think it is, if you can score early against them, they will absolutely crumble. If they can hold out, they'll put bodies behind the ball. Maybe they can frustrate you. If Arsenal can score in the first 10, 15 minutes, I think it's 4-5-0. If they can hold out, then they are difficult to break down at times. They've got the worst defence in the league, 24 goals conceded, and they've only scored 7. Only Bournemouth have scored less. They're dreadful. They go into the Championship. But we have to be careful. I know I'm talking in a bit of a relaxed manner, and I'm expecting a goal fest tomorrow. Like, this to me is looking like an all-you-can-eat restaurant. Start a dinner and dessert, people. Help yourself. I'm looking for, 5-0 Kai Havertz goal and Martinelli with a double. Saka scores. But in reality, it wouldn't surprise me if we went a goal down after 2 minutes. You know what I mean? We've seen these games. Bournemouth going 1-0 up after about 9 seconds. So as much as, for me, I'm predicting 4-0 tomorrow, by the way. I'm going to let you know from now. I'm expecting a 4-0 win for Arsenal. But I wouldn't be surprised if we scrape this game 2-1 and it's difficult and, you just don't know. We've seen Arsenal over the years against newly promoted teams struggle to break them down. But I do expect Arsenal to score. The difficulty and the concern for me is Odegaard isn't at his best at the moment. And now Gabriel Jesus is out. And that means we're going to have to change the striker situation, which is not ideal. I'm still a little bit annoyed. If Manchester City aren't top, we should be top of the league. That's something I'm going to say. I know Tottenham have started the season well. I can't deny that. They have started the season well. But we need to, we need to sort that out. We need to sort that out. We need to get back to winning ways. 2 of our next 3 games are against the newly promoteds, Sheffield United and Burnley. We do have Newcastle sandwiched in between that. Tottenham play Crystal Palace away. They then play Chelsea next week, I believe. So a couple trickier, Chelsea games a bit trickier for them. Man City play Manchester United. So we're hoping teams around us can drop points. Now, before we finish, Luke, I haven't bought the new merch, by the way. I have not bought the new merch. Jake said City are going to hammer United. I actually don't think they will. I don't think they will. Manchester derby at Old Trafford. I just think somehow they'll make it a scrappy game. Right, let's pick the team. What are we going with tomorrow, people? We know already Thomas Partey's not available. No surprise there. We now know Gabriel Jesus will be out, which means we need another striker. And we need to set up slightly different. So we're going to have a chat. This isn't what Arteta's going to pick. We're going to pick what we would go with. So get in the comments. Now, I would play Aaron Ramsdale. But he's not playing. I'm almost certain of it. I would play Aaron Ramsdale. But I just don't think it's going to happen. 2 centre-backs with Gabriel and Saliba. You don't mess around with them two. Those two pick themselves right now. Gabriel, Saliba. In fact, the whole back 4 picks itself. It's the same as the one that played against Sevilla. There's no way on earth Tomiyasu can get dropped after that performance. The guy can actually defend. When we go into midfield, I would change things slightly. Jorginho, for me, gets dropped or rested. However you want to say it, I don't think against Sheffield United you need to play with a double pivot. I think you can play Declan Rice as a lone 6. So I would change things. And I would bring Emile Smith-Rowe into the team. I would bring ESR into the team. That guy deserves a start, man, more than anybody. Odegaard will play. He's been ghosting the last 2 weeks. Would I drop him? I wouldn't, because I still think for Arsenal to have a successful season, you need an Odegaard that's performing. Yeah, rested. I should have said arrested. Not rested, arrested. They should arrest him. Get him out of there. I would play Emile Smith-Rowe. I would play Odegaard because I think Sheffield United at home is a game for him to play himself back into form. Not all the time when someone's playing badly do I think you should drop them. Sometimes you've got to find a way of getting them back into form. So I would play Odegaard. And then this front 3 is an interesting one. because I'm kind of thinking. I can give you breaking news, by the way. I'm not playing Eddie and Nketiah. So Saka's on the right. We got to get something out of Saka. Now, I've got two things in my head. Do you go Trossard or Martinelli up front, or do you actually play Kai Havertz as the false nine? Have we just totally given up on Havertz? Or do we play Martinelli or Trossard up front? Me personally, I would love to see Martinelli up front. I actually think Martinelli can play up front, or Trossard up front. Who would you go? Peter says Kai up front, Trossard in the 9, Trossard, Nelly, Saka. I think personally, I'm done with Havertz. I would actually go Nelly through the middle. I would give him a go through the middle. A lot of his goals come from central areas. I think you could play on the last man. You get through ball, he gets in. Now, I'm going to delete this team because that ain't happening, by the way. Raya's going to be in goal. And I doubt he's going to play Smith Rowe, by the way. He's going to play Jorginho. We'll change Jorginho and Rice because Jorginho will be the 6. This is what I think he'll play. I still can't believe Jorginho plays for Arsenal, by the way. When I'm typing his name in, I'm devastated that he plays for Arsenal. I don't think Trossard will play. I don't think he will. He's going to play Eddie or Kai Havertz. I'm convinced. There's no way he's going to use an opportunity to play one of them two and pass it up. I'm trying to think who's he. In reality, he's going to probably play Eddie, isn't he? I'm going to be honest. I think he's going to play Eddie. He's just played for England. He's going to try and find a way of getting Eddie in. And that's a great point, a lot of you. Zinni, actually. I would play Zinni in midfield ahead of Jorginho. He'll play Eddie. He'll play Eddie and Nketiah. I'm in agony typing this, by the way. It wouldn't even surprise me if Zinchenko played ahead of Tomiyasu just because we're going to dominate possession. That's what I think he's going to pick. I think that's the team he will pick. I don't agree with it, by the way, but that's what I think he will pick. I wouldn't play Jorginho and Nketiah probably ever for Arsenal. How are they calling him Martin Raya? Maybe it's his twin brother. Oh, it's David Raya Martin, apparently. I don't know. Whatever his name is, he hasn't been playing well anyway. That's the team I think Arteta's going to pick. If Gabriel Jesus is injured, I don't see him missing an opportunity to put his stepson and Nketiah up top. He may even use it as a way to get Havertz in the team somewhere. He may play Havertz with Rice and Odegaard. You never know. I think he'll try. That's what I think Arteta's going to go with tomorrow, people. Simon said, against the low block, we need more creativity. I'd go back to Zinni and Trossard, left centre, mid, Rice, DM. I wouldn't be surprised if Zinni comes in for Tomiyasu, just because we're going to dominate possession. I think Trossard deserves a game. It's just where you play him. If you don't play ESR, I would play Trossard in that attacking mid-role. Eli said, people forget Trossard, Nelly and Saka killed it for us last year. Once he chopped it up, that's when we started losing a bit. Yeah, I remember, was it Leicester away? Trossard played that nutmeg pass into Martinelli. He just bent in the far corner. I think Martinelli and Trossard were sort of interchanging who was the striker and who was the winger. I think that can work. I just don't think he'll do it. He's Eddie and Nketiah FC, man. He loves him. He'll find a way to get him in the team. Did you know EAFC, when you put Zinchenko in midfield, he actually gets higher extra rating than being in left back, which I think is cool. Hey, big up. Maybe Arsenal need to take note. Green said it's going to be tougher than we think. We've had a few terrible weeks of performances. But you know the thing, I was thinking, listen, I wouldn't say terrible. But certainly we haven't been at our free-flowing best. I thought Sevilla was a very, very good result, even though the performance was not. It was a long way from perfect. If you look at our last 3 games, we've beaten Manchester City at home, which is huge, even if we didn't play great. We've drawn 2-2 with Chelsea, 2-0 down, and we've beaten Sevilla. Now, performance, not great. Results have been very good. Chelsea was a bit frustrating before the game. I was thinking we need to win that game. But we're still picking up decent results. What I keep saying is we cannot maintain playing average and continue to pick up results. Abby said, would you take a draw? I think you know the answer to that. If we drew with Sheffield United, mate, I'd be having an absolute meltdown. What we need to do, what I really want to see from Arsenal tomorrow is the performance. I'm going to be honest. Sevilla away, I'm more interested in the result. You know, Chelsea at the Bridge, result. Man City at home, result. When you play Sheffield United at home, they're bottom of the league. They've got the worst defence. I expect to see a performance and a result tomorrow. I want to see a free flow in Arsenal. I want to see Arsenal score 3 or 4 goals. I want to see us start to play similar to how we played last season. I know last season we've given up since last season we've given up a little bit of the attacking threat for the defensive solidarity. But I think when you're at home against a struggling team, you need to be able to, step it up a little bit. I was looking at it. The most goals we've scored in a game this season is 4. We got 4 at home against PSV and 4 away against Bournemouth. 3 at home against Man United. So we can score goals, but we just need to be a little bit more free-flowing. As I said with Sheffield United, they have got the worst defence in the league, but we do have to bear in mind they only lost 2-1 to Man City, 2-1 to Tottenham, and 2-1 to Manchester United. So apart from the Newcastle game where they got battered, they've made life difficult for everybody else. So I think what you've got to do, Newcastle scored early. They were 3-0 up at half-time, and they completely crumbled in the second half. If we can score early, go 1-0 up in the first 10-15 minutes, maybe the floodgates will open. Do not concede against these. Young Gunner said late on the stream, nothing less than a 3-0 win tomorrow. No messing about. Arteta needs to stop clowning around. Ramsdale gone in January. I'm convinced. Big up Young Gunner. We did speak about him. It will be interesting. Toria said they're riddled with injuries as well. And they actually sold some of their best players. So I almost think Sheffield United are resigned to getting relegated. And hopefully we can score some goals tomorrow. I want to see a free-flowing performance. So people talking about the merch. Yeah, I have seen the merch. I did bring it up earlier in the show. It looks all right. I won't be buying this one. I can't lie. As I said, I'm predicting a 4-0 win for Arsenal tomorrow. No messing around. We have to be 3-point collecting. But I'm looking for a positive performance from the boys as well. And a few goals to go along with it. Thank you for tuning in today. 2,000 of you in the chat. Yeah, Austin Trusty Derby tomorrow. He'll be playing centre-back, no doubt, for Sheffield United. Make sure you tune in for the watch-along at 2 p.m. tomorrow. We'll be live at 2 p.m. Obviously, the game starts at 3 p.m. Final question. Question for Curtis. Who are your top 5 signings of the season in order? Top 5 signings of the season. I'm just thinking of the 5 rather than the order, because you've got to put Declan Rice in there. You've got to put Maddison in there, as much as I don't want to. Who else? I think Szoboszlai's done well at Liverpool. I think Vardyol's done well at Manchester City as well. There's 4. 5th one. Trying to think, Chelsea ain't really bought no one that's really kicked into gear yet. Actually, it hurts me to say, I think that Van der Ven at Tottenham as well. I think he's doing well for them. It's a shame to put their players in there. Doku's been all right. Gravenberch, oh, that's a good one. Ward-Prowse. We'll give it Ward-Prowse. I like him. He's done well. I would say Rice, Maddison, Ward-Prowse, Szoboszlai, and Diaby, that's a good one as well. He's done well there. There's been a few, but we get Declan Rice in there at the top. We're going to be biased. Listen, big up to everyone tuning in. Make sure you join me tomorrow, 2 p.m. for the watch along. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I will see you all tomorrow, people. Bless.